It is the ambition of nations and cities all around the world, but achieving net zero emissions is a major challenge, even looking decades into the future. To discuss their plan to hit zero by 2035, we're joined by Heather Werner and Musheerah right here in their home city of San Diego. Thank you two for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
To you, Heather, what is the ultimate goal?
In 2015, the city passed our first climate action plan, and then we recently updated it in 2022 to establish a net zero target by 2035. And that effectively means that for every greenhouse gas we put into the air or into the water, we take an equivalent out. So our emissions goes to net zero in terms of either what we've reduced or what we've sequestered, what we've taken out. And we're using nature-based solutions, renewable energy, multiple different strategies in multiple different areas of the economy to hit those targets.
If you could give one prime example.
I would really just focus on the 5 strategies. Those are advancing our renewable energy, so getting all of our electricity to renewable energy, reducing our natural gas loads, so that's taking out natural gas from almost every aspect of the economy, increasing our natural resources to sequester more, and transitioning all of our transportation sector over into electric vehicles or other zero emission technologies.
And Musheerah, how big of a challenge is it?
Heather actually said a lot. Just hearing her say that, I think everyone recognizes how big of a challenge it is. We are the 8th largest city in the US. So when you think about from a city perspective, you know, we have over 1,600 city facilities and actually over 4,500 city vehicles. So I think the challenge there, and just recognizing the effort that the city has to produce to meet these goals, is a significant challenge. And we recognize that, and we are leaning forward into that challenge to ultimately meet that goal of net zero by 2035.
And where are we in terms of emissions at this point?
So the last inventory we did was in 2019. The last one we consider really valid because obviously COVID had a very big impact on lots of different economic sectors. That was about 10.5 million metric tons of CO2 equivalent, so greenhouse gases. We've seen reductions in those years, and we're going to do another inventory in about a year to see how far we've come. So we're on the right track, but we have a lot to get done between now and then.
How hard is it to get buy-ins on this?
Depends on the sector. No, but actually the good thing for San Diego is because we passed our first climate action plan early, the idea of the city leading on climate action and bringing along all of the different stakeholder parties, all of the different industries, all the different economies, not only our own internal stakeholders, but across the city, has been a long and engaged conversation. We have really strong advocates. We have almost all of our business sector really focused in this area. We have a massive clean tech sector actually here rooted in San Diego, so they drive a lot of the conversation. So I think San Diego has really made that transition into our entire economy really understanding that sustainability and net zero is a way to grow our economy and really advance the quality of life for San Diegans, rather than something that's an add-on or something that creates more challenges.
Well, let's talk about the fleet, if you could, Musheerah. What does it take to electrify?
I think the biggest challenge that everybody kind of recognizes is the money. Where are we going to get the money to electrify over 4,500 vehicles that I talked about earlier? But we are leaning into exploring and finding as many grant opportunities as we can. We're also looking into rebate programs with the industry, with both internal and external partners. The other thing is we have to have the additional electrical capacity around the city and for our internal city vehicles at our operations yard. We actually just commissioned a plan, a fleet electrification plan that a consultant helped us work together on, identifying where our vehicles are, what the life cycle of our vehicles are, determining whether we can do a 2-to-1 ratio of charging. And we have figured that not all our vehicles need to charge at night every day. It's also going to take all hands on deck. It's going to require some industry input as well, because we have a plan right now for light duty vehicles, but when the industry is a little bit slower producing the heavy duty and medium duty electric vehicles for us.
But what Musheerah is talking about is we recognize that this level of transition, both for our buildings and for our fleet, is a massive capital upfront investment. And most cities, including San Diego, are not going to be able to do that on book. And so, yes, we're going after and talking for state funds that'll definitely be there, federal funds to be there. But the other is just the broader private capital markets. There is an acknowledgement throughout the capital markets that this is really where investment is going and this is really where the opportunity is. And so a lot of this is about making sure that we are designing contracts and partnerships with companies that can deliver long-term, that can bring that capital forward, and that you're really structuring what you would consider a win-win for both parties in terms of our sustainability goals, our budget goals, and obviously their revenue and kind of business goals.
Why is it so important to approach our future with sustainability?
So you may have heard we had a hurricane in California.
That's a good reason.
We live the reality in San Diego and in California writ large of climate change, and that is things that have already baked in. And San Diego really kind of gets it from two ends. We have potential sea level rise that we know we have to take account of, and then we have increased wildfire risk. That's, again, the climate change impacts that you're seeing now are baked in from emissions that were produced decades ago. So we are really taking this from both a mitigation, so we want to reduce as fast as possible so we're not adding to the problem, and then a resiliency, which means we have to adapt for what we know is already baked in and do what we can to mitigate the impacts to the quality of life, to our buildings, to people and property. And those really go hand in hand, because the idea that business as usual will somehow you'll be able to engineer your way out of this on the time frame that we know the science tells us isn't possible. We have to tackle this, and we have to tackle it holistically, end to end, throughout the economy.
Then again, 2035 is really right around the corner when you think about it. And we are close, but not there yet. Do you think things can happen that fast to reach the goals?
We're positive about reaching our goal. We actually, I think even before the 2015 cap, I think we've been working, at least on the fleet side, for years. We have over 400 hybrid vehicles in our fleet. We have 28 EVs, and I think we have 30 or more on order. So we've already been leaning into the effort, to reduce emissions. The 2035 goal, that's 11 years from now. We're positive about it. It's a great challenge for us, but I would say it's doable.
Yeah, I think that the hardest part of it actually is the culture shift. It's rooting that way of thinking into everything that we do. And again, San Diego prioritizes sustainability in all of our capital investments. We prioritize it in the services we do. It has really become a part of the city and the city's operations and the city's culture. And once you're there, the first time you do it, so it's going to take twice as long and you'll run into challenges, et cetera. But that's just a lessons learned iteration, and you gain speed and momentum the more you do. So is our pace now what it's going to need to be in 6 years? No, but we have to start now. And I think the biggest hurdle we've really been able to overcome, because I don't have to talk to any of our other departments. I don't even have to talk to most people in the city when we're talking to them about what we're doing, why we're doing it, and why it's important. This is all conversations about the how. It's no longer any more conversations about if.
Well, it sounds at least like San Diego is becoming a leader for change for the rest of the state.
We are doing our best.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Musheerah and Heather. Very enlightening conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.